What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several loot spots that I think are underrated and should help you get easier wins in Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 3. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below where your favorite place to land has been so far in Season 3. And if you guys haven't really played on the most recent patch, the nerf to vehicles and the addition of boogie bombs, I feel like definitely changed the game a good amount at the start of the season. I feel like getting mythic cars was probably your best bet if you did want to get like an easier win. And so you would have people just landing at the boss POIs, or if you had the cars on patrol trying to land on those cars and then like kind of get it quickly and easily. But with the addition of boogie bombs, I feel like you can kind of just play a bit more standard, loot up, get boogie bombs, and then just play from there. I feel like you don't have to be as fixated on getting the mythic cars. Most of these spots I'm going to talk about should get you a somewhat easy start to the match with like not very many enemy players landing in the area and a solid amount of loot, but rarely are these spots going to be enough loot for you just to play the game from that point on and not really worry about it. You're likely going to need to loot these and then take advantage of like more loot spots in the area, or kind of like third party another location to like kind of clean it up and get the rest of the loot easily. The first spot we're going to talk about is new in Season 3. And that is going to be these docks outside of Redline Rig. I think this spot is very good. This spot has 20 potential chest spawns and a slurp truck. There's a grenade NPC here, which can be hired, or you can just purchase a boom bolt crossbow from them if you want. Because of the layout of this spot, I feel like it could be looted very quickly. Like most of the chests are just kind of out on top of containers and stuff. You don't really have to worry about like navigating buildings too much. And then you can just kind of take the cars in the area or the launch pad that spawns here and go to somewhere like Redline Rig or Nitrodrome if you want to like third party those locations. If you aren't quite ready to fight yet, or maybe the medallion was already taken or the boss spawned on patrol, then there is like a fair amount of loot in the outskirts of the desert, or you could even go towards something like Brawler's Battleground, which shouldn't really be that hotly contested if you wanted to clean up that spot and get more loot. But I feel like ideal circumstance for these docks is the boss spawns at Redline Rig. You kind of quickly land here, loot it up very fast, and then just try to third party Redline Rig, because a lot of the players fighting for that POI and fighting the boss usually aren't going to be in like the best state as far as like HP and loot goes. So it should be like a relatively easy fight for you to clean up, especially if you get boogie bombs and kind of catch them as they just get the mythic car. So I think these docks are very good, and I think this is going to be a spot that actually does have a fair amount of people landing at it once more people kind of figure out how good it can be. A spot I've talked about in pretty much every video I've made like this in Chapter 5 is going to be these beach houses on the far left side of the map. There's 8 potential chest spawns and 3 buried chests that will be on the beach that you have to dig up. There's also 8 slurp barrels in the same room on the docks where you could just break the floor to get all of the barrels instantly. In Season 3, there was a gas station added right next to the beach houses. The gas station has 2 more chests, and then there's also some car mods here which you can use to customize your car. And there is a building just up the hill with plenty of loot as its own. So these beach houses, like I kind of touched on at the start of the video, it's not the most loot, but it's an okay amount of loot. And if you're playing team game modes and there's not really anybody landing in the nearby area, then you could maybe kind of split drop like one player at beach houses and then one player at that other house. Both of you kind of loot up your spot quickly and then go from there. Unless the bosses are on patrol near this area, which can kind of happen, you're likely not going to get a medallion for free. But again, with the addition of boogie bombs, I feel like you can just kind of loot up, have boogies, and then go to wherever the medallions are, boogie them out of their car, and then get the kill super easily. One of the most densely packed places as far as loot goes is going to be this kind of like warehouse military style building on the outskirts of Brawler's Battleground. This location has 22 potential chest spawns and is very isolated from the rest of the map. There's also 9 slurp barrels here, and there is a vending machine spawn as well. And like I already said, this spot is very loot dense and typically not very contested because of how far on the edge of the map it is and just how far away from everything it is. There is car spawns here, so it's not like you really have to worry about storm, but you're likely not going to get like a super high kill game out of this POI. But if all you want to do is just kind of loot, be alone, get lots of loot, this is one of the best spots in the game for you. And then from here, if you want even more loot, you could rotate towards Brawler's Battleground or Mount Olympus. Or if you're just happy with the amount of loot you have, you could just kind of start hunting the medallion players from here. And there is car spawns, like I already touched on, to make it like super easy for you to get out of this spot. You really should not have to worry about Storm, even though it's on the edge of the map, because of how many like cars we have in the game. It's super easy to rotate around the map. The next two spots I think are both in great locations to clean up Nitrodrome. And the way Nitrodrome works is the boss doesn't spawn in right away. I think it takes like 2 minutes until the boss spawns in. So if you do land at a different area and then come to Nitrodrome at good timing, you will have a much easier game than the people at Nitrodrome, because Nitrodrome is typically a spot that's super chaotic and there really isn't that much loot here. So like, I feel like the people that land here actually have a much more difficult time than the people landing at one of these other kind of like shamblesy split drops. The first one is going to be the house where Meowscles would spawn last season. It's to the right of Nitrodrome. This house has 7 potential chest spawns and 7 slurp barrels. And like I was already saying, after looting it, you can just kind of head towards Nitrodrome. And even though this spot doesn't have the most loot, the players at Nitrodrome should have way less loot than you. And if you have boogie bombs, then you can easily get them out of your cars. If you don't have boogie bombs, it might be rough to kind of rotate to Nitrodrome from here. So you maybe want to like fall back to this nearby Greek area or loot the lake in front of the house and then kind of go to Nitrodrome from there. I feel like with either of these spots, if you're going to go to Nitrodrome afterwards, you really are going to want boogies, because Nitrodrome is a very car-centric area. There's a lot of cars there and a lot of mods, but also a lot of people rotate into here with cars and with the boss cars from what I found. So it's kind of like high risk, high reward. It's going to be a very chaotic situation and really chaotic fights, but if you have decent loot and boogie bombs and play it well, you might just come out of there with all of the medallions and a boss car afterwards, which is very good. So finally, I think the main reason you want to land here, it's not like you're going to get enough loot to play the game. It's just you have an okay loot and you have a better start to the game than the people in Nitrodrome, and then you can hopefully capitalize on that chaos and then get there as the boss is spawning anyways. And then the final spot is going to be a very similar kind of story as well. It's going to be the Ship It building, once again near Nitrodrome. This building has 11 potential chest spawns and 2 slurp barrels. And there is also a dock behind it with 5 more potential chest spawns and a launch pad. And you can also get in the green water here to real quick to get some dashes. I feel like the Ship It building is a bit better than the old Meowscles house though, because you have way more options. It has like a little bit more loot but less barrels, but I feel like you have way more options and you can get dashes, because if you have okay loot out of Ship It, then maybe you can go towards Nitrodrome after looting this. But if you're really not that happy with your loot, then you can kind of just third-party Pleasant Piazza or third-party Grim Gate, both of which I think are great options, and you should be able to clean up those POIs if there are still people fighting at them. And at Grim Gate, you can duel the Cerberus NPC to get the Mythic Gatekeeper shotgun. So I feel like with like the current state of the game, you don't necessarily need to be as fixated on getting the bosses and the medallions and getting the mythic cars and feeling like it has to be that. So you could just kind of loot Ship It, go towards Grim, get the best shotgun in the game, get even more loot, and then play from there. I feel like as long as you have boogie bombs now, the cars really aren't that big of a threat, and you can kind of just completely counter them whenever you feel like it if you have boogies. So that is going to be it for this video and some of these underrated loot spots. As always, if you guys did find this helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.